Mr. Gil Cody on the congas. He is a master drummer and music. And also, of course, Mr. Rafael Rivera. Honestly, kind of like on a hiatus with the spring break. But we're going to do something very fun and interesting, and this is the first time we're going to try this. It's going to be a combination of my poetry and, of course, Gil's drumming. But Rafi is going to do what we call in Spanish soneros, and that is improvisational singing. What he's going to do is he's going to take the theme of my poem and just do improvisational singing along with the music. And so we'll give him little cuts towards the end of my poetry so you can hear how he does that. And I hope you enjoy it. This one's titled Face of Grace. Face of color I can see, oh so lovely, they all tell me. Black hair, brown eyes, blood cries. Face of race, my family I trace. Face of many kinds, race of many I find. Face of race is who I am, and in a crowded room I stand. Look around, and another is sure to be found. This one's called Blood Mother. Before I get into that, I just want to say that a lot of these photographs are vintage photos of my family, and also from one of Puerto Rico's famous photographers, Göttl, who documented a lot of historical parts of culture in Puerto Rico from the 1930s and 40s, so I kind of mixed our family photos in like that. So. Okay, the next poem is Blood Mother, and it's a poem I wrote to my mother concerning cultural identity. we don't have a garden. So there's a lot of reasons behind that, and I expressed my anger towards that in this poem, and that's why it's called Cleveland Rican Blues. I've got the Cleveland Rican Blues. I'm lost in a city that still don't recognize my people's history. We walk around this town and we're still a mystery. Little Italy, Slavic village, Chinatown, when will our day come around? I was promised a Hispanic village, complete with a theater and some shops, a beacon for the barrio to give my hip of their props. But that day never came around, and I'm still stuck in this town. Ooh, I've got the Cleveland Rican Blues. Now let's get this straight. I make no apologies. I'm no New York Rican. I'm a Cleveland Rican who is still seeking. I ain't never been that level, never lived in a tenement, nor had the luxury of a bodega or a radio station. La Mega no se pega aquí, not for me. I'm homegrown Cleveland Rican, born on the lake, make no mistake. My people came by the steel belt on a ship to work late. Down at La Fabricas in the flats, that's where it's all at. I lived in the projects at Riverview, my brick city, Ohio City, next to La Marqueta, the West Side Market, where vendors sow cilantro, maíz en dulce, and pimiento, so mami can make up her sofrito. Oye, mi grito de la calle 25, la calle 25, the road to redemption, West 25th Street, hardened like the Red Sea, where my people were pilgrims in their own right, escaping their plight and leaving Puerto Rico to find a better life. Hey, no Moses with a golden rod, but we had Moisés who knew how to find us a job. And God bless Maria, Dios la bendiga, our saving grace who helped us find a place. And let's not forget Wilfredo who gave us those cookies to feed our faith. My people, in the beginning, our story was rough. It wasn't easy and we got tough. Our forefathers gave us el Comité Hispano, el Club Chacano, La Parada, the Puerto Rican Parade, all to give us a better day. But where are we today? We had our frustration with no representation, crime and drug on the street, and a bad reputation. So they gave us that so-called bilingual education. But we still got Joselito, who said, what the heck? And fell from West Tech. And we got Margarita, who'd rather dress with the best than go to Lincoln West. And what about Wandy, that little girl, so cute with her curls, pregnant and having a baby, because she told her papi chulo, maybe. Oye, I got the Cleveland Rican Blues, and I'm wondering if anyone here got a clue. Oh, I won't forget. I know some of us made it big, did the right thing and got the right gig, escaped the blue collar, never gave a holler, not even adios. I see you around. I'm leaving the body at this town, never looking back to even give una mano, a helping hand to their pana, their fellow man. And let's not forget los políticos. Yeah, you heard me. I'm calling on you too, because you're the biggest reason I've got the Cleveland Rican Blues. We elected you to your position with our Hispanic vote. We even listed our needs and handed you that note. Your power came into play and we ain't never seen our better day. So I'm gonna break it down right here and now. I'm gonna give my gente some advice and maybe show them how. Latinos, we must be united to rise to power. We gotta think higher than that terminal tower. Keep La Familia together, worship and pray, work hard and save our money for a rainy day. Support Latino business, and you know which ones, and live each day to the fullest as they come. And don't forget, we need our Hispanic village. And don't ignore, we need it right now on our Lincoln shore. It's a piece of an island, not could have made, but an island for our people who came a hell of a long way. I want my Hispanic village. This next one is called Poverty Puzzle, and I'm going on my 24th year now working in the housing industry. That's affordable housing for low-income families. And I've worked in, let's see, government, nonprofit, and non-private. And so I've seen a lot of scary things working in this field. And this poem was part of what I hated the most about my job when I used to manage properties, and that was evicting families. So this one is called Poverty Puzzle. At the sound of gunfire, they awake. Their tiny hands reach, and comfort is nowhere to be found. Rude awakenings make hard hearts, and empty stomachs crave anger. They're only small children with big dreams, and their shoes never once walked by a larger man than them. Their world of poverty and confusion water the weeds to thirst and exploit their helplessness. And dandelions sprout with one to spread sunshine. Their clever minds know you're just a weed. Cold bodies blanketed by lead and dust, they piece together tiny chips of paint and fragmented thoughts inside their heads. Remember the place they once called home. On the curbside, a mountain of memories piled high. No time to gather mementos or any long goodbyes. A chain once drawn to close the door, now broken forevermore. And yet, bureaucracy rules their world with multi-million-dollar budgets. And the grass is always greener on the other side. Poverty's still cold, and the spirit dies. Managers, CEOs, and politicos, all puzzled by poverty. Okay, this one is kind of true to form to follow poverty. This one is about the numbers game. A lot of people out there always have hope. I know, how many of you played the Mega Millions when it was up there? We all had that hope. Keep hope alive. So, my father, back in the days, used to have a bookie come into our house, and he used to sell the numbers. It's a big thing in the Latino community where they played the little numbers game and had their own bookies come in and sell the numbers. And ours was a German guy, oddly enough. He wasn't Puerto Rican. So he was Mr. Nolan. And every Saturday, faithfully, he'd come knocking on our door and selling the numbers to my dad. And, they established a friendship there. But in Latino communities, those bolideros is what they're called, the men that sold the numbers. They were kind of revered as like community heroes because, they had the money that the people didn't have, the newcomers, the new immigrants. And so if a family member died, a bolitero was always there to offer a loan to a family, or he was there to offer them a loan to fly back to Puerto Rico. So there's this nostalgia there with, with the boliteros in my house, and especially Mr. Nolan. He kind of became a fixture in our family, and so I dedicate this one to Mr. Nolan and my father. It's called La Bolita, the numbers game. Saturday morning música latina, high wet floors and open doors. Caliente is the beat and the summer heat. We take pride in the little we've got. Not much of a sofa, but plenty of knickknacks and wedding souvenirs, lined like toy soldiers to beat this battle of poverty. Or if anyone dared to question those unspeakable words, are you poor? On a good day, La rich folks. Pimpin' lady luck, la puta que te entrega de este infierno. The whore who will deliver you from this hell. Our last dollar, no more blue collar. For Bobby, just a nice house on the island to get back to La Familia. And for mommy, just the same. All the more reason to still play the game.
Lovingly wrapped in a newspaper clip to buy hamburgers and fries for our favorite McDonald's trip. Summer's all knew it was time well spent. Ay, Papacito, how we knew you had more stories to tell. But it was our special moment to learn and know you well. Conviction, Ave Maria, I heard my mother a union of mind and spirit, a miracle in this physical world, a small breeze of holiness. My mother smiles in solitude, prayers answered, peace and comfort, forever bounded by faith.
they're performing up here is a combination of bomba, which is Afro-Caribbean music form that Cody could probably talk a little more about this since he's an ethnomusicologist. But also, Rafi wants to do a plena, and what I know about plena is that it was considered the musical newspaper back in the days, where people actually would stand on street corners and sing the latest news items and social commentary. So it was very improvisational, and it became known as the folkloric mountain music of the people. So I'm going to let Rafi do one for you to close us out. Thank you.
The verse actually says that, please don't take my bomba, my plena, because it will be like you will rip him the star out of my flag. That's how we point out what bomba and plena is over there in Puerto Rico and in the United States, especially in New York. Gracias.
This is a Lake Effect Poetry Slam qualifier. We are tracking points for Northeast Ohio's official Poetry Slam team. You can find us on Facebook. Just search for a group called Lake Effect Poetry or lakeeffectpoetry.com. The rules are simple. You have 3 minutes. If you go over 3 minutes, there's a 10-second grace period, but after that you lose a half point every 10 seconds. It has to be an original piece, and you can't use props, You can't bring people up here and, you know, demonstrate things or you know, if you're singing about keys, Taylor Malley did this last night at his performance in Oberlin. You do a poem about keys, you can't take your keys out and demonstrate during a key because that's a prop. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I'm forgetting one. I usually do forget something, but...
What 0 means and what 10
yeah.
means?
We have 5 judges. Judges give each performance a score from 0 to 10. 0 being, dear poet, don't ever pick up a pen again. 10 being, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. Judges, don't be swayed by audience applause or reaction. Audience, do your best to sway the judges. Let's get some noise up in here when the poets are up on stage. Okay, yeah, that's it. Don't, if you can use decimal points, don't go more than one place. I'm a publisher, not a mathematician.
You probably got high score and low score, right?
Yeah, we have 5 judges, so the highest score and the lowest score get tossed. We take 3 in the middle and add that up for the poet's score, minus any time deductions. Again, 3 minutes. Let's get this slam started. Our first competitor of the evening, Marissa H.
Melodramatic. In the Sunday night sea of saints and constellations, I look like wildly out of control beads. My words a slow, sprawling near drawl. Plenty of y'alls and faint apathy yawns alongside strategically sorted situations. But, by far, in fact, not the worst I could be. Shameful and ugly only if it were reality. My moves are rehearsed, motivated, and raw. Calculated, this culture I convey, manic party world. A world of maniacal laughter and blue moon, seeming spiteful or screaming silliness, a character in a book. I thought you knew. And my new boots are show-stopping, perfect for stomping away in a pretty tantrum, great theater with an unsuspecting audience. Might call me ostentatious, or maybe fake. I'd just say drunk and bored. This is babble. Normally I would call this my Fuck You Ryan poem, but now it's an oh Ryan, your life is so sad poem. I can feel it like cigarette smoke burning my throat, leaving it sore and satisfied. I can feel it. Your caution, your regard, and we'll both stare at our ceilings tonight trying to sleep alone. I can feel it. You'll be 20 drinks in by then and barely even slurring, your bartender's tolerance. I'll be numbed when I close my eyes. The mix of pot, patience, and pills get me there. I can feel it. The broken, shuddering insides, mine every day, yours when you blink and don't speak. They'd be scars if anybody could see them, but the ability to camouflage the chaos in our brains is our best skill. Not our only shared skill, but the only that isn't spoken. Can feel it in the endless babble, in the dissection of dialogue, the etymological discourse, the rapid passion for a fraying language. Something in common, other than being damaged. I can feel it. Get what I want and not be happy about it. Insatiable, right? You'll feel guilty and age like an apology is in order. If you say you're sorry, say it doesn't matter. Because just for a moment, I like to know that I'm not the only person in the world that lives up and up to forget they've fallen down a well. Without any rope or any help. I can feel it, we're fallen, the two of us. Maybe like angels, once pure and now disgraceful, worshipping beer and Bukowski. My God, is this it? I can feel it. The similarities that pull at my organs and differences that make it interesting. The reasons it could work and the clarity of knowing it never would. Because I can feel it from experience, from stories, and from the way you never make plans. It's my thing, damn it. The same with word affinity and vague cryptic statements. Thought they'd been perfected through my practice, but now I see I can be outdone. So can you. You're taken by surprise when I say that being sad isn't so bad when I maturely associate pain with good art. You don't believe I'm sensitive and serene like I pretend to be when you tease me. Can feel it. Your doubt, your questioning, you're curious, I know. Admit it. You feel it, even though you've mastered not feeling, or at least pretending it's so. I think it's fear. That makes two of us. Can feel it crippling the confidence that I never really had to begin with. It's always been a mask, a painted face with a grin. Is yours the same? A defense mechanism formed because of a fragile self-worth. I can feel it. We're the same, you just don't know it yet. And if you do, then it's scribbled in your journal, it's hidden and full of holes. Same as mine.
One other thing that we I've never heard mentioned in a slam before, but one poem. All right, judges, let's get those scores up. All right, from low to high, we have a 6, a 6.8, a 7, an 8.4, and an 8.5. Let's give another round of applause for Marissa. Next up, Lynne.
I didn't examine my being white and American man until I went to China. I didn't expect the men in bars to think I was easy, like the actress in movies, someone easily seduced, almost a prostitute. I didn't expect the young people to flock to me, eager to practice their English, talk about Britney Spears and Michael Jackson, how being American automatically made me cool. I didn't expect the older generations to view me as part of the country that erased their culture and traditions, saturated with seeing music and movies. I was to blame for the new generation of teenagers who didn't know what it meant to be Chinese. To them, I wasn't just an American. I was a dangerous fragment of an oppressive country, so they were fully justified in spitting at me and calling me names when I got on the bus to go downtown, calling me Lao Wai. They thought I was a dumb American who didn't know, but I knew Lao Wai was the N-word for white people. I could hear it on the breath, seeing suspicious brows. I didn't expect a child to see my pale skin and run away screaming, convinced I was a ghost. I didn't know how I could be seen as a commodity, something to be acquired, useful. So the man in the sharp business suit left boxes of mooncakes by my dorm room door. Asked the professor permission to court me. He knew nothing about me, my blonde hair and pale skin. But marrying a white American woman could open the door for jobs and promotions. I didn't know what it would be like to be so singular. My blonde hair, a single star on a cloudy night. Being singular made me noticed. Even my French, Italian, and Dutch friends were of Chinese descent. I couldn't fool anyone. Without clear allies, men would find me easy prey, grasping my wrists and forcing shots down my mouth. My only method of salvation was the drunkenness. They were clumsy enough I could wrest myself away. My classes went to the bars where all the white people go, took taxis and never traveled alone, while I hopped buses, waltzed in parks with surprised old men. I jumped on a train not knowing my destination, and kissed a black American whoever thought was Chinese. My classmates knew China's smooth surface, while I received spit, adulation, and mooncakes, mockery, and the murmured word, Lao Wai, which is still difficult for me to speak.
Judges, get those scores up in the air. Okay. We have a 6, 3 sevens, and a 7.5. Let's give a round of applause for Lynne. 8.2 after a 2-point time penalty. Next up, Steve Brightman.
Very nice.
This is titled Tethered to the Template. 1. This is the intro. This is as good a place to start as any. This is the intro. This poem could go any place from here. It could end up floating like helium on helium, or it could end up bloated, septic, poisoned from the inside. 2. This is the body. This is the thorax. This is the heft. This is the grainy shadow circling in the apologetic sky. This is the poem in pieces that I've always wanted to write. 3. This is the conclusion. This is the absence of transitions. This is the admission of guilt. This is the beaten idea corkscrewed into the muddy backyard, tethered to the template. This is the voiceover narration. This is the rising crescendo and the unsurprising revelation.
Yeah.
All right, from low to high, we have a 7, a 7.9, an 8, a 7, a 7.4, a 7.9, an 8, and an 8.2. Let's give a round of applause for Steve. Lynne had a score of 21. Our next competitor is Azriel Johnson.
Despite the influences of others, I have the choice to raise my voice and stop this shit from affecting me to the point of insane frustration. My feet slide one short step forward. I'm 2 feet from the edge. Cracked exterior falls. The liquid that once lubricated my life has become the scorching Sahara heat. But that's just a bad metaphor. No one sucked the life out of me except me. No one can dam up my mental river unless I let them. But I have. I must take back my power and relax. My feet slide one short step forward. I'm 1 foot from the edge. My fallen exterior shattered on the ground. The wind intended to breathe life into me has been sucked suddenly like a vacuum. But that's just being melodramatic. So why do I feel like I can't breathe? I inhale to gain focus, but the weight of the world and my flesh constricting my flexibility in breathing, my feet slide one short step forward. I'm standing at the edge, shattered, dry, blown in the wind. My feet barely exist now. I have ceased to matter. But that's just self-deprecation. I blow away in an updraft, taken over the edge. My lungs no longer exist. No one has power over something that is nothing. I'm drifting down the cliff, floating on air. Because once I reached the edge, I became free. No. My feet might be.
You are proud, stage, anything that's available to everyone.
Although taking your shoe off and throwing it at the audience, that would be a problem. All right, judges. I'm so used to having my mic with the boom stand, I keep hitting this. All right, from low to high, we have a 6.9, a 7, a 7, a 7.9, and a 7.9. Another round of applause for Azriel. Steve had a score of 23.3. Our next competitor is Kelly.
And just like that, I had something in common with ugly stepsisters and ugly little old men. Ugly managed to be me. I couldn't figure out for the life of me what I had done to be considered ugly and what made these people better than me. As the years rolled on and I transitioned into adolescence, I began to compare myself to models in magazines. Tall, check. Thin, check. Long hair, double check. No weave here. Then I compared myself to my classmates. White, no. Blonde, no. Blue eyes, no. Poppy, hell no. I wasn't much of a hit. I wasn't much of a hit with black kids I grew up with either. Way too tall, way too dark, way too skinny, way too naked. Middle school managed not to be my time. Neither was high school. As childish as it was, I used to lay in my bed and close my eyes and pray to God that I would wake up and be beautiful. Light skin, hazel eyes, 5'5", and just around the amount of thick that guys like. Of course, as silly as it was, it didn't happen. Although I won the titles of Best Build and Most Athletic, my true and unofficial title was Most Likely to Be Sexy as Hell in 10 years at the class reunion, but for now, from 2002 to 2006, not even fuckable. In those years, my list was revised. Tall, check. Thick, does muscular count? Long legs, check. Boobs, double check. Buns, working on it. I was considered only satisfactory, but I decided to run with it. Talking to dudes who would eventually be bums. Rolling my uniform skirt up just enough to show some leg, but short enough that I stayed out of trouble. I was average and was okay with it. I was considered decent and was okay with it. I was deemed the ugly friend and was okay with it. But one day, this right hand picked up books by Toni Morrison, Zora Neale Hurston, and Alex Haley. Then this left hand quit making checks on checklists and decided to determine my own beautiful. Who was to say that I couldn't be beautiful as well? And I'm made in his image, so who's to say that I'm not beautiful? So I decided to make a checklist and say, fuck you, ain't no standards. Gorgeous, check. Regal, check. Intelligent, check. Eccentric, check. Body, check. Face, check. Confidence, check.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, judges. From low to high, we have an 8, an 8.3, an 8.5, an 8.5, and an 8.6. Let's give it up for Kelly. Next up, Kasper.
So I'm gonna have to follow the acoustic thing there. I don't like these microphones either. So. See, everybody can hear me okay then?
Yeah.
This piece is titled Pollution. I should stand over here and the cameras. We need to deinstitutionalize our minds. Reconstitute this prostitute we all idolize. Okay, so she's screwing you, she's screwing your best friends, your neighbors, your whole family too. I mean, how far must this shit come round? Must we be wound before we come unglued? We spring like leaks from these streets. You know, we're proud to present to you the dirty, rotten truth. You know, if just a flush or two, even manure springs the most self-righteous truths, like Pleiadian intervention or the Dogon Cirrus. The cosmic common denominator is you. In provisions of me, Pi and I rest on repeating increments of 3, but before we get too deep, a pie in the eye of the eye and I, is that like prophetic comedy or apocalyptic colostomy from the piss to insist on its blasphemy? It's just another theatrical Shakespearean tragedy. Fuck, it has to be puppet mastery. The whole earth is convoluted and polluted with plastic factories. The fact is, you see, the bots democracy that most of us believe, a specific breed of thieves that predominantly feed on the wayside seed to pave the way for greed. But my heart has become hardened, and in my garden there's no need for plastic trees. Decomposition is a natural condition, biodegradable blasphemy, and believe you me, the rebar in this creed, it's not going to save you from all the prophecy. We need to rise above this time in love. You see, this is how the West gets won, not bombs and jets and tanks and guns or dollars and cents and mutual funds. You know, the common misconception, the problem with our perception, all this indiscretion. We all want to leave a lasting impression, but by casting the pretensions of what we want them to see, even the best of our intentions become casualty, martyred, bartered to a fascist society whose ideas are used as blood diamonds to bribe scribes and pay slaves to hide lies and carry the weight. You see, you can try to separate, but back in the day, the church was the state. It's the taxes that acts as the collection plate. You see, the fact is, the practice that vegetates, the naxiacs to gravitate to habits that inhibit enslaved mind states. We're not just being lazy, we need to wake up. Crazy puppeteer oafs, cradle rob, filling boats, pinning stripes on their coats, selling dreams of glory, honor, and hope. It's a hoax. How many graves have been made on foreign coasts? They could be making a difference at home by guarding their door instead of their gold, instead of saving their ass instead of their soul. You see, there's more important things than going to school. But when one head turns, they all do. That's the general's rule, and more typically and specifically, non-incidentally true. There's no coincidence of lack of evidence, they're straight up lying to you, vying for you, hoping you'll ride with them too while keeping eyes glued to a tube in your living room, playing Please Stay Tuned. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Are you always tired, angry, easily bothered? Do you feel your whole life is being spent on something that doesn't matter? Do you feel like thousands of others who suffer from over-excess anxiety disorder with no test specs necessary to process your order? You are not alone. Just pick up the phone, give us a call, we'll begin to solve your all with prescription-strength placebonol. Just one pill, 3 times a day. Watch your worries get carried away. If you call today with a limited time offer, else you'll pay 3 easy payments of $19.99 and a piece of your soul as a consolation prize. So give us a call, all lines are open. Our 24-hour representatives will stand by hoping that your inner codependencies keep us floating. Side effects may vary. Some terms and conditions may apply. Sorry, no CODs. Must be at least 18 years old to enter. Thank you.
From low to high, we have a 7.1, an 8.2, a 9, a 9.5, and a 10. Yeah. The first 10 of the night. Azriel had a score of 21.9. Kelly had a score of 25.3. Our next competitor is AKeem Jamal Rollins.
Fuck McDonald's. They might put ads, would you like diabetes with your Big Mac. They are feeding our children cancer shaped like chicken McNuggets. Do you want 1 lump or a 4 piece? I mean, would you like me to supersize that for you, sir? Sorry. Morality almost got in the way of me selling you your mortality, juvenile diabetes. That shit ain't really exist until they created it with their last marketing scheme. But they don't take credit for it because they didn't read the fine print of the food contract, and we all have gotten the contract. We just ball it up and throw it away as the wrapper of our burgers, people. A death certificate we sign in ketchup and grease. They put chemicals in the meat, cannibals feed the beef, growth hormones and animal bones, and you wonder why our children look old enough to compete in this slam too. Soon, birth and puberty will be synonymous, one and the same. Bouncing baby boys born with wet dream semen, damping the diapers born 3 months too early and still coming too soon. Baby girls born with B cups and hairs on their vajingos. Humans deserve better. Every chicken strip should be counted as attempted murder. Every french fry should be another year on a life sentence, and a salad with trans fat might as well be a big ball of baby oil clogging your jugular veins. So tell me, how does the periodic table taste on your tongue, Timmy? All of this is driven me to say that yes, I am a vegetarian. But no, you don't have to be, but demand that they run this shit properly. If McDonald's wants to raise a cow, feed it grass, make sure some bitch barks at it long enough to toughen up the meat, scare it into exercise, then slaughter for carnivorous treats, then slaughterhouse that heifer. Ain't nobody telling Simba he gotta stop eating T-Moon in them. It's bigger than that. Look at the facts. Facts. Over 75% of all McDonald's cows eat a gourmet diet of chicken feathers, dried cow's blood, pork, fish, bone char, magnesium oxide, zinc methionine, anionic salts, rendered fat from their dead relatives, oh yes, and roasted soybeans. Doesn't that sound like some shit you want to grind up in your big coffee? Think about it. They can sell you a burger for less than $1. It costs them less than that to make it. The idea is brilliant. Convince us we're getting a deal and a value meal, then don't pay for our hospital bills, because I'm sure McDonald's has stock in Cleveland Clinic. It's that cheap because it's waste, toxic trash, but we are addicted. The chemicals are habit forming. Yes, they do put crack in it. There are almost as many McDonald's in the hood as there are bad education systems, churches, corner stores, and barbershops combined. So fuck McDonald's. If you can stomach that shit, then try stomaching the truth. But damn, I want a big chicken.
All right, from low to high, we have an 8.8, a 9, a 9, a 10, and a 10. Let's go for a 3. Kasper had a score of 26.7. Our next competitor is a man called Plush.
Certain things shoved down my throat, figuratively. Just shut up and fuck already. Stop preaching or advising to me how I should save myself and bore me to tears with your sad stories of when you were young. When you gave your virginity to the first one you loved only to have your heart crushed, stomped, and shat upon. You knew the bump wasn't worth a thing. Not my fault you ignored your danger warden's spidey sense to the fact he cheated and lied as much as he breathed. Anyway, I digress. People, really, just shut up and fuck already. No, seriously, I'm 23. The fuck do I need to think about love for right now? Please don't make my ears bleed with some speech about waiting for marriage and sanctity. I take everything at face value and with barely a grain of salt, including religion. Trust me, I slept through enough Sunday sermons. Why would I put myself through the destruction of putting so much emotion and effort into a relationship with someone I love, have all these expectations set, only for it all to get flushed down the proverbial shitter, along with the fact that I gave my virginity to you. Bitch, like you really care. So, no thanks. I'll catch you my free ass pass, sign up for those great benefits with my friend, order my first month's supply of stands, and fuck until we break the fucking bed. Shit, will you people just shut the fuck up and fuck already?
All right, judges. All right, from low to high, we have a 6.3, a 6.8, a 7.5, an 8, and an 8.1. Let's get another round of applause for Bob. And it's the poetry, not the points. There's money on the line. That kind of changes things.
Qualifying.
I'm just saying. Yeah, qualifying on the line. All right, AKeem had a score of 28. Our next competitor is Skylark.
Fucking free the people! Big white letters scrawled in dripping spray paint across the back wall of my church's building. Oh, if only they knew. The graffiti scribbler probably never heard of progressive Christianity. Most of us in my congregation are battle-scarred refugees from evangelical confirmation camps. We bear fresh wounds from weekly rounds of convenient just metaphors of condemnation. We shudder seeing the slightly slumped shoulders of the next generation, our backs only recently straightening up after releasing the load of judgment. Fucking free the people? Hell yes. Free us from the vice grips of fear-based sacrificial atonement. When historical Christianity rarely traveled just one improbable, reproachable path. The only thing narrow about Jesus' way is the difficulty the rich and powerful have in following it. And now, our society's wealth makes so many incapable of sharing the welcome the man from Nazareth extended to the poor, sick, and outcast. Free the people from obsession with the brand name on someone else's holy book. Fucking free the people from worrying we distribute too many condoms and not enough chick tracts. But we will find one another. We will heal each other. Fuck, we will free the people. We will free the people from top dog televangelists and dogmatic creeds. My confession of faith is a declaration that our untamable God will not be shoehorned into a box the size of a hymnal, pulpit, or megachurch stadium. When I repent, it is not for people I have fucked, contraceptives I have swallowed, or cleavage I have displayed. I do not confess guiltily to having questions or doubts about my faith, because the source of love would never chastise someone for pondering why. I do confess the times I have averted my discomforted gaze from a terminally ill person with bed sores. The days I hoped no one would make me think about race because I wanted to marinate in my white privilege. I repent of the times when my mind churned into a pool of disgust rather than compassion for the old beggar asking for coffee and a cigarette. Fucking free the people from the church, for the church, by the church. Just fucking free the people. Hand me that spray paint. Under this graffiti, I'm writing, "We're working on it. Will you help?"
From low to high, we have a 7, a 7.5, a 7.9, an 8, and an 8. Another round of applause for Skylark. A man called Plush had a score of 22.9. Our next competitor is Mikesell.
I wondered what was in there. The trumpet case he kept hidden in the basement, the one with the latches so consumed with rust that they refused to open, or perhaps had forgotten how. But the conductor steadied his baton and waved me on. He said not to go in there. And anyway, it was time to go. The music had just begun. So we hit the road, just me, a joyful quarter note with my daddy, matriculating our way through town in our automobile, freewheeling carefree in my childhood zeal. What's this? A sudden stop? A spontaneous departure from the well-worn across-town romp? What a peculiar building we're entering. Catacombs of refulgent white walls, the redolent echo of disinfectant never far off. A sign-in sheet, a form clandestinely marked with shadowy words like confidential and discreet. A cotton swab in each cheek, administered by the nurse with voluminous tits in room 34C. A solemn grin, a nod of the chin, and an exit made expeditiously. But unfortunately for him, I had figured it out almost immediately. When I was 13, my father made me take a DNA test, because after over a decade of raising me, today seemed like the appropriate time and place to imply that his paternity was something a little less than skin deep, and after a lifetime being the only father I'd ever known, just might be a case of mistaken identity. Scars. The gifts that keep on giving. The time bombs that keep on ticking. Tick, tick, tick. Are you listening? Every scar is a symphony. Every chest ticks like a busted metronome, losing time with every syncopated heartbeat. This man left me a cavity where a father's love should be. And still, I hear it echo like a shell stolen from the sea. Even when I run 1,000 miles inland, I can still hear the ocean preach. According to him, a diminutive bass cleft of a man standing less than 5'7" could never beget a son who stands an octave above, now about 6'1". So he offered me a comforting melody, one that sounded like fathers should never be outgrown by their sons. You're too tall to be related to me. I listened long and hard for another 3 years, waiting for the end of that discordant harmony, but when it never stopped playing, I knew it was time to leave. So when you commanded your brass section to bellow the word coward in the direction of the decompressing staff that painted itself like prison stripes across the length of my back, I finally could hear the resolution to the hymn of my epiphany. You're right, I am too tall. I refuse to cower in your shadow. There is never enough room for me. My feet stick out the end of your bed. I'd rather sleep in the street. Don't call me a runaway, because tonight I'm running home free. And don't you dare tell me to apologize again, because I'm way too fucking tall for that apology. So I became a man and ripped open the trumpet case he kept hidden in the basement. But the bloody mass inside did not shock me. Because for what I found was his heart, covered in scars and still ticking, but just barely.
Judges. All right. From low to high, we have a 7.4, 7.5, an 8, an 8.5, and a 9. Another round of applause for Corey. Skylark had a score of 23.4, and our final competitor of the night is T.M. Göttl.
On this day, you are free. Just as sure as the rolling moon will crimp the roof lines and chimney spires, so does the following fox, the hungry kitsune, take chase, taking maple sugar bites from the golden round while the rabbit forgets to bring our wings. Last year was a very thin year, thinner than 1943 when the copper was scarce and the pennies even scarcer, minted in steel instead of red gold. Thin as the stories from the Concord that paper the walls in a house of mourning and other ordinary things. And I don't know if I can believe in these gods anymore, durable gods who don't fear and wake up early and break the unlikely bread of angels binding sky to sky. But just for today, you are free. Today, you walk through the white halls, drawing blue maps on the backs of napkins, reading the word jungle, and licking at the traces of meteorite as they drip, drip, drip down your face. In the beginning came the cannons, and the shiver in a kerosene lamp, and the red, red glow of an open sign. And tomorrow, you can leave the state as the crooked shale whispers that it's all gonna be all right. Because it has ended. Everyone is late for something. Even angels don't always come on time. Today, I'm late for my last meal, my final blessing, my death row march. And I don't plan to arrive tomorrow either. Because it has ended. And just for today, you are a goddess, king, jester, queen, shaman, emperor, wise man, totem, prophet. I watch you chewing on the wild thorns, God hobbled and white like a cancer, because your candles will not light the sky, because your lanterns will not light the sky, because your eyes will not light the sky. Things fall apart. But just for today, the eagle and the condor fly together again, and the dark owls have left your shoulders, and it has ended. Today, you were meant to run. And so on this day, you are free.
Judges?
2 or 7?
2. From low to high, we have a 6.9, an 8, an 8, an 8.2, and a 9. And a round of applause for 2 and 9. Corey had a score of a 24. I just caught an error. Kasper had a score of 25.7. I forgot to take off a 1-point time penalty. And one moment, let me do some quick math. In third place, taking home $20, thanks to Arts and Stark, Kelly. In second place, taking home $30, thanks to Arts and Stark, Kasper. Taking home $50, thanks to Arts and Stark. Tonight's Slam winner is AKeem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we had 2 good long full lists tonight. I should mention that our final Lake Effect Poetry Slam qualifier will be held at Saturday Night with the Poets Haven, April 21st, 7 p.m. at Phoenix Coffee in South Euclid. That's 4441 Mayfield Road, zip code 44121. Our featured poet that night will be Rob Frostbite King. We will be releasing a book by Michael Bernstein called AIDS. Poets Haven is publishing it. And we will be having the final, the last chance slam for Lake Effect Poetry. It's your last chance to qualify to get on the team. Our slam finals will be held May 8th at Yes, AKeem.
I have a question. What is the team? What are we qualifying?
What is the team? This is the team that Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, Akron, Canton will be sending to national and regional competitions, including Rust Belt Slam, and hopefully we should be able to get in National Poetry Slam, biggest poetry event on the planet. Yes, there is a website, AKeem, lakeeffectpoetry.com.
Hey, another good one from some local kids I know in the Midwest is poetrymenu.org. It's a good one to look at too. Poetrymenu.org, just for something to check out.
Okay, again, our last chance slam is at Phoenix Coffee on April 21st in South Euclid. Our finals will be held May 8th at Versified Expressions Freedom of Speech Show. That is Tuesday, May 8th. The show starts at 7 p.m. The slam will start at 8 p.m. That is standard real life time. What it says on your watch, what it says on your phone screen, not poetry standard time. Get there on time. Yeah, I think that's all. That's all. Thank you everybody for coming out. It was a great show tonight. We've got like 4 minutes before we have to have the building vacant, so please everybody, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thank you everybody. I'll see you on the 21st.